There are legends round here, even if only in their own minds. Forgotten, but not dead. Some have tried to stop them, but they keep coming back. Coming to entertain you. They are the Crystal Lake Soldiers.
Well, welcome campers. This is a special edition of the Crystal Lake Soldiers podcast. This is something that we're trying out to see about possibly doing future reviews for movies. Tonight, we're discussing a movie that had a short limited run in theaters through Fathom Events. It's Rob Zombie's newest movie in the, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects series, titled Three from Hell. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, obviously, the Blu-ray is coming out in October. Ted, when is that coming out again?
October 15th is the release date.
Awesome. Perfect. So you have that to look forward to if you were wanting to see this. Just to kind of start out, about the movie, and actually, before we even get into that, how we're going to structure this review, because there's going to be two different versions of this review. There's going to be the spoiler-free version of the review, which will be a shorter review. And then there will be the ones filled with spoilers. So if you're listening to the spoiler-filled one, all the spoilers that we're going to talk about are going to be at the end of the review here, which we'll get into the kind of the nitty-gritty of the story elements and things that happened. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy this. We're kind of looking forward to this because we want to start doing more reviews and getting more content out there for you guys. So let's go ahead and get into this. So Three from Hell, like I said, had a limited release through Fathom Events. It was in theaters for 3 days, this week, actually. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. And each night they had something different. So the first night, if you went, you got a free poster with it. Second night, they did a feature, kind of a behind-the-scenes documentary. I think you said it was about 40 minutes long, Ted. Is that correct?
It was around 40 minutes to an hour, yeah.
All right, perfect. And then now we're recording this on Thursday. So last night was actually the double feature where they showed Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell. So that would have been kind of cool if you got to see it that way to kind of get the whole story arc for that. Obviously, it was missing House of a Thousand Corpses, but you still got Devil's Rejects, then going right into Three from Hell. So.
How insane would that be if they did do all three movies? You'd be there till like 1 o'clock.
Oh God, that would have been great though. I mean, because they're great movies. Mm-hmm. Right off the bat. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to what's been said about the movie, people are kind of divided regarding this movie. They're like polar opposites. Either people loved it or they hated it. I know I use that a lot with a lot of different things, but literally, you either loved or hate this movie from what I've been seeing. Even like with reviews, either, like sites like IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, they've been like opposite ends too. Because right now through IMDb, it's sitting at like a 7.1 currently for IMDb, which is pretty good, especially for a horror movie. You go to Rotten Tomatoes and it's not sitting good. It's at like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's kind of all over the place. And that seems to ring true with people and critics as well. Now, both me and Ted got to see it on Tuesday night where they had the documentary after the showing of the movie. And I fucking love this movie. I absolutely love this movie.
I did too. It was a great time. I thought it was gritty the way it needed to be gritty. I loved the cinematography. I loved the music, like we talked about. The music was fantastic in this movie. I cannot give it enough praise. I love the placement. I mean, Rob Zombie is perfect. I mean, being a musician, he's perfect at knowing when to place music in certain scenes. Like the scene when they introduce Baby in the prison. And they are escorting her to her parole hearing. You know, that I love that scene, slow motion, the music was perfect.
Yeah, you get a lot of good music in this. And, you know, I've never been a big Rob Zombie fan music-wise, but his taste in music is fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely get to see that on display, just like you did in Devil's Rejects. His music selection in this, because he was the music supervisor for this. Oh my God, like everything was perfect music-wise. Everything from the beginning up until the final end credits. The end song was great too. Like that everything about the music just made the movie that much better, in my opinion. And it's fucking phenomenal. I don't know what else really to say, you know, with regards to the music, but it's just fucking phenomenal. It really made the movie for me.
Yeah. And you know what? The movie's an hour and 51 minutes long. It didn't feel that way to me, man. It went by the pacing. It went by really fast for me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, it's already over.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that was the other thing, because we were talking about that the other night too, that it just felt like that was it.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize that fucking 2 hours had passed. Like when when me and my wife walked out of the theater, I had looked at my phone just to see what time it was, and I couldn't believe that it was fucking 2 hours long. I mean, this movie didn't have any previews or anything before it, so
No.
I knew for a fact that it was 2 fucking hours, and it kept moving so well that it did not feel like 2 hours, and it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, it really, in a way, it kind of made them like the heroes in the movie, which was kind of weird. But at the same time, it's kind of like you want to root for them just because of all the shit that they're being put through with regards to prison and being chased and everything.
Especially in that third act. You're the third act, there's no doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Or it shouldn't be a doubt in anybody's mind that you're supposed to be rooting for these people. You're supposed to be rooting for the Fireflies.
Right. It was great. It was great. Everything that they did here with the movie was phenomenal, in my opinion. And, you know, obviously it's well known that Sid Haig did not have a huge role in the movie. We'll talk more about that in the spoiler section if you're listening to the spoiler-filled one. If not, you can definitely listen to that after you see the movie if you want to, or if you want it spoiled, you can switch over to that one, and we'll talk more about Sid Haig. But Richard Brake was a very good replacement choice.
Oh, he was perfect.
You know, for Sid Haig, and his character I felt fell right in line with the Firefly gang, and he fit right in perfectly, in my opinion, with this.
Oh, he did.
He played a great compliment to Bill Moseley's Otis.
Yeah.
So I thought them playing off each other was phenomenal too, and it all worked for the good. You know, even though it sucked that Sid wasn't in the whole movie, it was a good consolation, and I thought they did it well, and everything with how they handled the whole Sid situation, you know, I thought was done as best and tastefully as you could, because, you know, Rob Zombie did an interview recently where he had talked about the reason why Sid wasn't, because everybody was questioning if Sid was going to be in the movie, and obviously it became known, so this isn't really a spoiler if you're listening.
Yeah.
So it became known that Sid was not in the full movie, and the reason why was because at the time that they were about to begin production and start actually rolling film on it, Sid ended up in the hospital. He had already lost a bunch of weight. He was pretty sickly and stuff, and so Rob Zombie had to basically not rewrite the whole movie, because basically the part that Richard Brake plays in this movie was meant to be Captain Spaulding, but he changed it enough to make it fit. And I thought he did a decent job with the circumstances and with the amount of time that he had to do this, because he had to do this in a quick turnaround to basically fit Richard Brake's character in here. And I thought under the circumstances, he handled it phenomenally, especially given the fact that this was meant to be a whole different character.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to Rob Zombie for that, because he really handled that pretty well, because that's a shitty situation to be in, especially right before you're about to start filming.
Yeah, he even talked about that in the documentary about how, you know, they were getting ready to shoot, and then, you know, Sid's like, you know, I can't do all this anymore, you know, physically. So Rob's like, okay, and Rob said, you know, he scaled it back, and then when they met, Rob realized, oh man, he can't even do this without, physically he can't do all this. So he had to rethink everything at that point. And, he did it. And like you said, I think he did a fantastic job with it. There's a fantastic job how he handled Spaulding's character, given the small role. I enjoyed that. It makes me interested. I want to read like the full original script before he had to change it, now.
Right.
Because, some things had to be changed, like how, Otis escaped prison and things like that. Because I'm wondering what it was like or how it was written originally.
Yeah. Now, to kind of talk about probably my favorite part of this, and it was kind of a play on a scene that they did in Devil's Rejects, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but Clint Howard's character, Mr. Baggy Britches, that was probably one of the funniest characters. And it was so funny but so sad at the same time.
Gotta love Clint Howard.
And like even all the cameos that they had in here, because you had Clint Howard, as Mr. Baggy Britches, which was great.
Yeah.
And then you had Dee Wallace, who was almost unrecognizable, like you were saying when we were talking about this.
I didn't recognize her at first. The first scene that she was in, which we'll go into later, I didn't recognize. So I was like, "Who is that? It seems familiar." And then her next scene, when she's with Baby, it finally hit. Mm-hmm. My brain finally clicked, and I said, "Holy crap, that's Dee Wallace!" I was like, she dyed her hair. She's wearing the glasses. I was like, who is this lady? It is Dee Wallace. I was like, oh, cool. That's a kudos to her. Because in the documentary, it was she said it was her idea to dye her hair because she said, Rob, nobody's going to believe I'm like this horrible warden person with these perky blonde hair, she said. So she's like, let me dye it brown or black or whatever. And so she did, and that made her unrecognizable right there, just having the hair different. And then she has the glasses, and I'm just like, wow, she did a great job transforming herself, in my opinion.
Oh God, yeah, and just the interactions with Baby that she had, it was fantastic.
It was.
They had so many different cameos and whatnot, and they all felt like needed at the times that they were there. I mean, obviously there's certain characters, from previous movies that were in there that made you want to see more of. Yeah, overall, it was nice throwback to a bunch of different things that they had in there, and it was great. I really don't know what else to say other than that this movie was fucking phenomenal. If I were to rank these movies, this would probably be right up there with Devil's Rejects, because Devil's Rejects is my favorite Rob Zombie movie, bar none, but it's right up there. And that's really saying something, because just in all honesty, his earlier work is great. House of Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, the first Halloween, everything after that, I fucking hated. Like Halloween 2 was a trash fire, in my opinion. You had Lords of Salem, which was fucking boring. And then you had 31, which that was just fucking dull too. So this, for me, I feel is like a return to form for Rob Zombie and his filmmaking, and it makes me excited for what he might be able to do next. Are they going to continue this storyline with how things may have left off, or what is he going to do next? Like you were talking about, like what if he gets to make that boxer movie finally? It's interesting to see. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, what happens next, because I think this could be a good resurgence for him for making movies, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think out of the whole Firefly franchise, I think this one's my favorite. I really was sucked into the story in the beginning. I think I love Devil's Rejects. I like House of Thousand Corpses. Those movies I really enjoy. I think this one is my favorite, though, the way it was just handled. I loved it. I love the whole... I guess because I like to watch documentaries about different things, and the movie, the beginning of the movie has that documentary feel to it, and it's like the Charles Manson-esque thing, which is not a spoiler because that's in the trailer, free the three, and all that type of stuff, and so that really sucked me into the movie right from the get-go, and I was just like, oh, this is great, the aftermath of Rejects, we're seeing everything that happened.
Honestly, if you enjoyed House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, I think you probably will enjoy this. But like I said, it seems like people are either loving or hating it. Even ones that loved the original two movies, some are hating it. But I would say give it a shot. Check it out. Comes out October 15th on Blu-ray, DVD, and it's actually getting a 4K Blu-ray release, if I was reading that right.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Which I'm excited for, because being able to see that on my 4K TV would be nice too. So, definitely check it out, because I really think it should be given a chance, because obviously it didn't get the theatrical run that everybody would have wanted, because obviously it was independently financed and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I think everybody should give it a chance, and just check it out. Even if you wait for it to show up on a streaming service or whatever the case may be, check it out. Support horror. I think everybody should be supporting horror, when it's made, especially if it's being done decently. And this was done decently, and the love that he put into this, I can fully see it.
Yeah.
Because he really loves these characters, and I think the story that he told was great. And I'm sure other people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine, because everybody can have their opinion on it, but I really believe he did a wonderful job with this movie.
I do too. I agree. It took him 14 years to revisit these characters and revisit this world that he created back in 2000, because the House of a Thousand Corpses was filmed in 2000, but it didn't get released until 2003. So I guess you basically, for him, it's been a 20-year franchise essentially for him. So, but you can tell. He didn't just revisit this automatically, like after Devil's Rejects, he's like, okay, I'm gonna make another one. He went off to do the Halloween movies he did and other stuff. So he took his time with it until he got like an idea that he figured that he could logically make as grounded as he can make it grounded. So I know that's kind of one of the pet peeves that people are saying, the beginning, about how how are they still alive after the end of Devil's Rejects, because they charged the police and not getting shot up. And I was like, well, this was the most realistic way it was handled, so I did not mind it at all.
No, definitely not. I think without giving out any more spoilers, that's really kind of what we can say about it. It's a good flick. I really think you guys would enjoy it if you checked it out and just gave it a chance. And now let's get into the good stuff.
Yes.
So, all right. So to start off here, now we're getting to the spoilery stuff. And this is the good stuff that we want to talk about. So now let's start off with talking about Sid Haig.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Spaulding's not in it the whole movie. He gets basically a scene, with him in the jail cell, which that was online already. So if you haven't seen it, you can definitely check that out. Basically, they almost showed the full scene of him getting interviewed for this documentary that they show actually at the beginning of the movie. So there's like a whole documentary that they did on the three and how they survived, and because they didn't die from the bullets. I know there was talk in the beginning about are they just being spit back out from hell because they're just too evil and all that. No, it's nothing supernatural or anything like that. It's straight up, they got shot, they survived, and they recovered, and now they're in jail.
Yeah, they each had like 20 bullet wounds, I believe, is what the movie said when we were watching it. They each had like 20.
Yeah.
So, and then they just survived.
Something like that.
It was just dumb luck that they survived. That's all there is to it.
Pretty much. So basically, Spaulding gets this, scene where he's doing the interview, and then they cut in and talk about how he was the first to be executed. So they did end up killing off Spaulding just because of, Sid's health and whatnot, and him not being able to do the full movie, which I thought was kind of fitting, that it kind of puts a blow to their group.
Yeah.
Because, like, one of them got killed. And, you see that towards the end of the movie when, they're getting ready, or they're in the middle of the firefight, or it might be right before the final firefight, the night before or something like that, where Baby's kind of just missing Spaulding because obviously he's her father in this franchise.
I love that scene.
I thought that was a good callback.
Yeah, it gives her humanity also. She's like, it wasn't just him too. She was like, everybody's gone. Tiny's gone, Rufus is gone, Mom's gone. Now Spaulding's gone. It's like
Yeah.
there's nowhere. Everybody's dead now.
Yeah, it was a nice way to kind of bring him back into the fold towards the end there, just kind of reminiscing, with Otis, and Foxy was kind of there too. So Spaulding does die. Now Baby and Otis get locked up, obviously, and they're all on death row. So Spaulding was the first to die by lethal injection on death row. Now Otis is put on work duty. I don't know what. Now this is one of the things that kind of got me a little irritated, because I'm like, why would a death row inmate be doing work duty outside of a prison?
Yeah, they wouldn't be.
But yeah. But that's it's a horror movie. If you're expecting fucking logic in a horror movie, then yeah, you're not in the right area. So I let that go pretty quickly. So basically, Danny Trejo's character, was in that scene with the work scene, and basically it's just a massacre.
Yeah.
So so this is still during the scene in the beginning where they're doing the documentary about the three, and it talks about how Otis escaped prison, and they had some camera footage, basically, quote unquote, that was the real footage of his escape and all that, and it shows him killing Danny Trejo, and Foxy shows up, and Foxy is Richard Brake's character in the movie, who is Otis's half brother. So he shows up to break him out. They kill everybody, all the police, all the inmates, and it shows Otis killing Danny Trejo and whatnot, and that's going to play into the movie later on. And so he escapes with him. So that just leaves Baby in prison. And then you get to Baby, and you find out how batshit crazy she is gone.
She has deteriorated horribly. Being in prison, locked up, has messed with her mind. Like that one scene when she's looking at the vent, she sees that like cat person just doing ballet.
Dancing.
Yeah, just doing ballet. She's like, come back. When like the curtains close. I was just like, she lost it. And then she starts crying, and you're just like, oh, I feel sorry for her. I'm like, this is a horrible serial killer, and I'm feeling sorry for her. I was like, good job, Rob.
Right.
Good job, Rob. You did it.
So here's the thing with Sherry Moon Zombie. She is not the greatest actor, but what Rob did with her in this movie was fantastic, because
she's
it
great
really
as
just,
Baby. I thought she was always great as Baby.
Her portrayal as Baby, for me, has always been mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
But with this movie, with her just being batshit crazy and just really going for it, really made it for me. It really made it just great. And I don't think anybody else could have done that role justice,
Can we talk about Sean Whalen's small scene? He's like, you look like that girl that they're looking for on TV, but yeah, you can't be it. Actually, I am that girl. I was like, oh gosh. And then he's like, well, I gotta go.
That was almost...
She pulls out the knife. I still want to party. He's like, I don't.
Yeah.
The scene changes. Oh, it was perfect.
God, that whole thing was a great callback to Devil's Rejects. Like when she met up with the old dude, that was a part of the country dude, band and whatnot.
The Banjo Sullivan.
Yeah, that was great.
Whatever they call themselves.
Yep, Banjo and Sullivan.
Yeah, Banjo and Sullivan.
So that was good. That was a good callback. Actually, this movie had quite a few callbacks. You had the scene at the house with Mr. Baggy Britches. That was a good callback to the motel room with Banjo and Sullivan as well.
Mm-hmm. That whole
actually,
area felt like it. That to me, that was the only real horror aspect of this movie. I don't consider this movie like a full on horror film. I consider it more of like the Devil's Rejects. It has that just like a violent spaghetti western feel to it. This one almost has that same feeling, especially, when they go to Mexico in the last act of the movie to hide out. It doesn't feel like a horror film anymore. It just feels like just these crazy people are just on the run. It's like almost like an insane road trip, essentially, is what it is.
Pretty much. And it was really well done, especially that scene. That was probably my favorite scene in the movie. Is when Otis and Foxy show up at the warden's house, and this is the warden of the prison where Baby's at.
Yeah,
and Baby's I didn't state this in the beginning, but Baby has been in prison for 10 years, So she's been in the prison the longest out of anybody, which is why she's gone so batshit crazy. And the warden keeps trying to break her and stuff. And because like Dee Wallace's character, like tried to get baby killed, you know, by 2 other inmates.
Yeah.
Just because she's that sadistic. And the warden kept trying to find out who let you out of solitary confinement, and she wouldn't tell, even, you know, on her. And Dee Wallace was like, stitches get stitches and all this shit. It was just great. But back to the house scene. So they show up at the warden's house. You know, they have, I don't even know who that was, his colleague or something from the prison or something like that. Or that was one of the board members.
It was one of
that did the parole.
Yeah, it was one of the parole board members.
Yeah, so one of the parole board members is coming with the warden of the prison to his house, and I'm guessing they're getting ready to have like a dinner party or something like that. So
because Mr. Bagby,
they find their yeah, so their wives are tied up to chairs at the dinner table, and they're wondering what the fuck's going on. And then here comes Otis and Foxy. And, you know, kind of shit ensues, and Mr. Baggy Britches ends up showing up. So this is Clint Howard's scene, in my opinion, because all of a sudden they're sitting there talking about how they're gonna break baby out of prison, and then the doorbell rings. So was it Foxy that went to the door, or was it?
No, it
Otis?
was Otis. Otis went to the door.
It was Otis?
Yeah.
Okay. So Otis goes to the door, opens the door, and it's him sitting there, and then, you know, Otis has the gun pulled on him, and Clint Howard's just like, oh shit, what the fuck am I getting into now? So he gets made to be brought inside, and he's like, you know, I can leave, you know, I won't, I don't have to say anything to anybody, I can just be like I was never here and whatnot. And basically they make him perform a show for them because they said that he can leave if he makes Otis laugh. Yeah. And so he puts on this terrible like clown music, starts doing these stupid tricks trying to make Otis laugh, and you know, obviously nobody's laughing. And it gets to the point where Otis is like, this is enough, basically. Stands up and points the gun at him like he's gonna shoot him, and he pisses his pants. Yes. And that makes Otis laugh. He's like, God damn it, you made me laugh. I guess I gotta let you go. He's like, I can go? He's like, yeah, you can go to clown
Shoots
heaven.
him in the head.
Pops him right in the fucking middle of the head. I'm like, oh, poor Clint Howard. Just can't get a break. Oh my God, that scene.
That was hilarious.
Oh, and then, yeah. Oh my God, it was
when
great.
they actually get baby out of prison. I love that scene. I just want to say this quickly before I just leave my brain. But when baby has to chase down one of the wives after the chaos is breaking out at the warden's house, and she takes off running. I say one of the warden's wives. It's the parole board guy's wife. You know, she's running out of the house trying to get away. Baby chases after her. Catches up to her, stabs her to death, looks up. There's this, like, old lady with an oxygen tank smoking a cigarette. And then Baby just waves hi to her. And the old lady waves back. Baby comes back. He's like, I think we need to leave.
That was great. So basically, yeah, that was great. That whole chase scene, and especially in the slow motion of her chasing her out of the house. Because this lady grabs a fucking knife thinking she's going to go knife to knife with Baby. And Baby just pulls out a bigger knife and just starts chasing her out. And it's in slow motion. It's got this, like, I think it was classical music that they had playing at that point or something. I don't quite remember, but it was great nonetheless. And then just her just tackling her in the front yard and just stabbing the shit out of her. And that old lady seeing her. That was great. But basically, the warden, the board member, and their wives all die, and, you know, cops start showing up, and they take off.
Yeah.
And so Baby sees, like, this Native American garb, you know, on display, so she grabs this headdress and this bow and arrow and stuff, which comes into play later.
Oh, yes, it does.
And, yes, it does, and it's great. It's phenomenal. And so they take off. And so this is where, you know, they're driving and whatnot, and they end up... at the motel where the whole Sean Whalen scene happened. And this was kind of like a play also on another scene in Devil's Rejects where they're the Tutti fucking fruity thing where they're driving. That kind of had that whole same kind of with their discussion and whatnot. It had that same kind of feel
About the driving.
as yep, because they didn't want Baby to, or
It's like, I can drive.
that was great. That was a good play on that.
I can
And,
drive.
like all these. Yeah, all these scenes with Foxy's character, you can tell that Spalding would have fit perfectly in those. So that's how you can tell that it was definitely written for Spalding.
Like the night blindness.
But like I
line.
said,
He's like, it's hard when
Yep.
you're the one doing all the driving. Well, I'm sorry, I've got night blindness. Detached retinas sucks to have, man. I was like, this is great. Just bickering like a family. That's all they're doing.
yep. So so they get a motel at this rundown, just danky motel, and the whole scene with Baby happens with Sean Whalen, and you know she obviously kills him, and you know carves something into his head. What did she carve into his head? I don't remember.
Grape, because he bought her a grape soda.
Grape.
Because she's like, I know a party, but will you buy me a soda? And he's like, yeah, sure. She wanted grape. That whole scene,
That's
he's
right.
like, she's like, I want something that'll make me pop. And he's like, cola? No. Orange? No. Grape? Yeah. How nuts he is.
It was
And
great.
then and then written on the Coke machine, or it was the ice machine, she wrote "Baby was here" in blood too. I don't know if you caught that, but
Oh,
yeah, that was
man.
great too.
I didn't catch that. It was so quick that it happened. So basically, she goes back up to the motel room. They see that she's got blood on them and figure out they need to fucking leave again. So they were getting ready to rest and have a relaxing night, and Baby had to fuck it up. So they leave, and at this point, they decide it's probably best if they go south of the border. So because they start driving and trying to figure out where they can go.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, we're just gonna go to Mexico. So they fucking go to Mexico, and they find this rundown town where they can hold up and whatnot.
Celebrating the
and,
Day of the
you know,
Dead. Because they're all wearing
Yep, they're
face
celebrating
paint
the
and
Day
all
of the
that
Dead.
stuff.
Yep. So this is kind of a small little town. It's really run down too, and so they go to the hotel or the motel or whatever the fuck it is. It's really a nasty place that no human should fucking sleep in. But basically, this guy runs the hotel, the bar, everything. He's kind of the sheriff, undertaker, kind of foreshadowing there. With him talking about being the Undertaker. Yeah. And so they get a room from him, and you know they then he has his helper come out who's a little small person.
It's the same guy who was the small clown in 31. It's the same actor.
There you go. And so he's got an eye patch and everything, and he helps Baby take her stuff up to her room.
I like the relationship
or
they
the
actually
room or
own.
whatever.
That
Yeah, I was
right
I was really bummed when he got fucking killed.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been like a great little addition.
To their clan.
Little addition. Wink, wink.
Because they actually started forming a bond and really getting to know each other and becoming friends. And
yeah, because Baby had talked about how he had reminded her of Tiny.
Yeah.
And Tiny, if you haven't seen House of a Thousand
Tiny is
Corpses
not
or
tiny.
Devil's Rejects, Tiny is really huge and thought, you know, what was it? Thought he was ugly or something like that, or
yeah, he always covered himself
basically,
up.
Yeah, always covered himself up. Basically thought less of himself. And Baby really saw that in him, and just kind of how he reminded her of Tiny, her
the
brother.
Same vibe
so
is what she
that's
had.
kind of how that
Y'all
bond.
have the same vibe.
Yeah. Yep. So they kind of became friends, and so while this is all happening, that the motel owner or whatever, he ends up making a call.
He recognizes who they are.
Yes, he recognizes who they are, obviously, because there's like a nationwide manhunt. Mm-hmm. And he calls the son of Danny Trejo's character. Yep. Now, his son runs a gang called the Black Satans. And basically talks about how, you know, I have something that you want, yada, yada, yada. You know, I want 10 grand, basically. And it's a done deal. He said you'll give him the money. And he said to have 3 coffins ready, basically. Yeah. So Flash to that night, they're partying it up because it's Day of the Dead and all that, and everybody's got face paint on, and
Baby wins the knife
the bar owner. Baby wins the knife fight because there's a knife throwing contest, and the guys didn't think that she could do it, and she fucking whooped them all.
The bullseye, man.
And then
that was great.
Yep, that was phenomenal. That was a great scene. And then Otis and Foxy get their rocks off with some hookers, basically. And that was funny as hell because Otis is just hilarious in anything. Anything Bill Moseley does is fucking funny. It's just great. It's just his quirkiness that he brings to it is just so nutty. It's great. So they basically have a good night and they go to sleep. And so the little dude brings Baby some breakfast in the morning, and they're talking some more. Yep, some rice and beans, and they're talking. While Foxy and Otis are kind of just waking up from, their night of debauchery. And the owner of the hotel, the bar, and all that, he's standing out in the middle of the road, just kind of looking around, watching. So a car pulls up with 3 coffins in the back. So they're getting the coffins ready. They bring them out, and hide them. Then 2 vans pull up, and out come these guys dressed in suits with luchador masks on. And they've got guns and everything, and then the owner's pointing out where each of the Firefly gang is, and Baby's at this point looking out the window.
Yeah.
And she mentions, why is he pointing at me? And then the little dude looks out the window, and he's like, those are the Black Satans, they're here to kill somebody, and they're probably here to kill you. He's like, hide, and I'll go let the other 2 know. So he goes down to let the other 2 know, and fucking shit just starts going off.
Yeah, everything hits
the
fan.
Hookers end up getting killed.
Everything just hits the fan.
Yeah, Foxy ends up saving Otis, as Otis only has 1 bullet left, and then Otis returns the favor by using that last bullet to kill another
Make
guy
sure
that
they're dead.
Foxy missed.
It's basically
make sure they're dead.
It's basically Foxy trying to outdo his brother, haha, see what I did? I did it better than you. And then Otis is just like, oh yeah? He's not dead yet. Because he points the gun and Foxy's like, what the? Thinking he's about to shoot him, but no, he shoots behind him. That's when Otis is like, you idiot, make sure they're dead first. It was great. just more bickering is basically what it is. Sibling rivalry, essentially. And then you have Baby just taking out everybody with that bow and arrow. Is so awesome with Indigada DeVita.
She was a badass.
Yeah, the Indigada DeVita playing on the record player. It was fantastic. It was so great. She's just nailing these guys in the head, the necks, and just and I was just like, this is the best thing ever.
That first scene when you find out that she's wearing that headdress and standing behind that door, though, that was the best. Because one of the luchador guys comes in the room with his, semi-automatic or whatever the fuck it is. And he's looking around because there's a clapping monkey on a table. And the door slowly closes from behind him as he's distracted. And she's got that bow just drawn and just right through the fucking neck.
She's on top of that dresser. Yeah. I thought she was going to come out of that closet because that closet door is wide open. But nah, she was on top of that dresser behind that door. And then the door closed and there she is. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And she just went,
it was so good.
Nailed him. It was great. Oh, man, that whole ending is so
She went all oh my God, it was so good. Because she went all Hitman like she was fucking stalking around and just silently just taking people out. While Otis and Foxy were just being loud and obnoxious about it. It was a great combination in that scene. And it was a very good firefight. And then it comes to the end, and they obviously get captured and tied up at a fountain. And Otis, because what happened is Foxy and Baby got captured. Yeah. And then Otis went after the owner of the bar because he tried leaving with the money.
Yeah.
And he's like, where the fuck are you? Basically, where the fuck are you going?
That bar owner is great, too, the way he talks. He's about to cry. It's not fair, I just told you. He's just blubbering. It's just so great.
And he's trying to make a deal with Otis, like, we could split it 50-50. How about 60-40?
70-30?
How How about you take it all?
That's great.
And then, because at this point, Otis has one of those, machine guns or semi-machine guns or whatever the case may be. And so, they make a deal and, Otis said he was going to let him live. And obviously he didn't let him live because he fucking shot him right then and there and just kept shooting him as... Just and he did not stop. just unloaded that whole clip in him. It's like, you deserve that, motherfucker. And so they're trying to find Otis, basically, because they've got Baby and Foxy tied up at a fountain. And Otis comes out and, wants them to throw down the gun and all that shit and, take his, beatings and be killed and whatnot. And he's trying to reason with the guy to get Baby to be released and, just,
she had nothing to do with
take us, let her go. Yep.
Because she didn't kill Rondo. She wasn't even there. Something.
Yep. So that happens, and it comes down to the point that the biggest luchador dude there is
the machete fight. I mean,
the knife fight.
So awesome too.
Yep.
And it's Sebastian.
So
Sebastian
he didn't
coming out, and Sebastian's the name of the little guy. He comes out.
Thank you, because I couldn't remember his name.
He came out and because he got injured early on and during the fight in the.
Because he got shot. I forgot about that.
Rondo's son, whose name I believe his name was Aquarius or something like that. He's just like, nah, I'm not even gonna waste a bullet on you. And so he's still alive. So he comes out and helps cut the ropes for Foxy and Baby. And then again, it just gets crazy again right there. Of course, Sebastian gets shot in the head sadly and dies. And I was like, oh.
That was the one part I was really sad about because I didn't want him to die. I wanted him to ride off in the sunset with them, and I thought that would have been perfect.
His character was great,
but no, he was great in this, and so he died, but he cut Baby loose and Foxy loose, and Otis is just kicked the shit out of that dude and just ended up killing him with the machete, and so everybody's dead except for Rondo's son. And it cuts to the next scene where they're looking down on him and he's tied up in the fucking coffin.
Yep.
Otis pours the gasoline on him and asks him if he's got any final words. And what did he say?
He said "F you,"
fuck you, or something like that.
That's the standard. That's so funny because there's like, how long are we gonna wait until I see that look in his eye when he breaks?
That's right. That's what I was missing.
And Foxy's like, "Is that it?" No. Was that it? And he's like, "Yep, that was it right there." Because he's starting to realize what's going to happen to him.
That was so good.
I mean, it's so good because the actor is just sitting there, and you can actually see the change in his eyes right there, like something.
Yes, it's like something just snapped.
Very subtle, but it happened, and that's what It's what Foxy smiles. Otis smiles, and Foxy like, "Was that it?" And he says, "Yep, that was it." They pour gasoline on him and light him on fire, live,
and then just walk away.
Roll credits in the movie. That's how the movie ends. No Marvel bullcrap in credit scene like everybody wants to do nowadays. So thank you, Rob Zombie, for that.
They just ended it with a great song by Terry Reid. Yep. I mean, it was the perfect song, just with a montage of them just driving.
Oh, we forgot one thing.
It was a perfect ending.
The hunters that found Foxy and Otis in the beginning, when they found Foxy asleep, and the Otis comes up behind the hunter and just basically blows his head off with the shotgun. It takes her and cuts her face off and leaves her tied up to a tree with her face hanging on one of the branches.
That's right. I forgot about that. That's the thing with this movie. There's just so much in there, but it wasn't like overdone for like scenes and whatnot. There's just so much in there that it's so easy to miss something, and that's why it was paced so perfectly. It didn't feel like it was a long movie, even though it was 2 hours long. It was so well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they ride off into the sunset. And that's kind of it. And they ended on a great song. I mean, the music, like we said in the beginning, music was a very, very, very key focal point of this movie, and it was very well, chosen by Rob Zombie, for the music to use in this. It was phenomenal. Just like Devil's Rejects, the music choices were just great. Overall, awesome movie. Highly recommend it too. If I were to rate this movie out of, just say out of 5. 1 obviously being a shit fire and 5 being excellent, I would give it probably a 4.5 for a horror movie.
I would give it I would give it 5 if I had to rate it 1 through 5. I would get 5 because I loved everything about it. Music, cinematography, I love the acting in it. The humor in it was great. I loved just the scenes of them just being a family, like Otis, Foxy, just playing cards in the hotel room, and Baby's watching TV. She's watching like an old Bela Lugosi movie.
I'm bored.
I love that. She's like, I'm bored. She just keeps saying that. I'm bored. He's like, where are you going? I'm going to get a drink. Yeah, everybody knows our faces. We're wanted right now. I don't think you should be wandering off. Just 10 minutes, man. I just want to get a drink. Stuff like that. I just love it. I thought everything was just perfect. Yeah. It was great. And I highly recommend it. I cannot wait till next month when the Blue comes out so I can watch it again. And
definitely.
Again and again and again and again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you guys have been able to see this, in the limited release that they had, let us know through either Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find us at CLS Podcast. We'd love to know what you guys thought of this movie, or if you're planning on seeing it when it comes out on Blu-ray next month. Keep in touch with us. If you like this format of us doing movie reviews, let us know. If there's any movies you want us to review, let us know, because we want to add more content just besides our normal podcast every week. And I thought that this would be a good way to do it, is by doing movie reviews. And I think this was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we do this again here soon. So, until next time, our normal episode will be up this weekend, probably more like Monday morning. So you can look forward to that. We'll be talking about short films and fan films. So we're excited for that. We'll have our first guest on there.
Woo!
So until next time, keep it crazy, guys, and we'll talk to you later.
Adios.
Thanks for joining us today for the CLS Podcast. Check us out at www.clspodcast.com or join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag CLS Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, campers.